up, everyone, and welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of the newest documentary, Spaceship Earth. This film is, of course, directed by Matt Wolf. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video to watch my channel. So, the idea of taking care of planet Earth is not a new topic. It's something that's been around for decades upon decades, with the current situation of the world, with the greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide, and the use of fossil fuels and stuff like that. The global warming situation is a real thing, whether people want to believe it or not. Things are melting, things are happening. The way the earth kind of, changes throughout the situation. It is happening because of a lot of stuff that we create, through certain things. And the idea of a documentary wanting to kind of thrust themselves into this situation and kind of talk about it and kind of deal with it and kind of deal with a certain subset of that ecosystem is nothing new. It's been done before. I mean, there's a movie out called Biodome, which kind of makes fun of the whole situation. I like to talk about Biodome because I like that movie, but this movie, Spaceship Earth, is that subset where we have a group of 8 scientists and so on and so forth who were basically tasked for 2 years to go into this biosphere, biodome, whatever you want to call it, called Biosphere 2. And it gained a lot of attention, gained a lot of media press and so on and so forth. But it also got a lot of criticism because of the people who ran the system, the people like John Allen, Ed Bass, so on and so forth. Because people, when it comes to science, when it comes to anything of that nature, are going to be very skeptical, especially when it's something of this nature, which is, of course, building a $200 million bio ecosystem. And it makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. You go in and you go, these guys they're investing a lot of money to create something that a lot of scientists could use in different leagues and fashions, and to have these eight people set in this glass structure, I mean, how does that going to work well? And as we see through this documentary, it doesn't work well after a while. They end up pumping like O2 oxygen into the thing. One of the people gets really hurt with their fingers, so they have to leave the biosphere, but they come back with like duffel bags and stuff like that. So of course the media and the press are going to be skeptical, and the scientific community are going to be skeptical. And the fact that John Allen and I think it's his wife were not willing to kind of push the narrative forward to kind of be honest and truthful, which in the scientific community or in general you have to be truthful, because if you're not, people aren't going to believe you, and the people who do believe the non-truthful people are going to be like crazy people. I mean, it's just the way the world works. And so this documentary is kind of a small slice of that situation. And my only kind of critique of this movie before I get into like the stuff I really liked is this could have been like a 4 or 5 part documentary. I mean, they did like 8 parts on the Tiger King, so why couldn't they do like 4 or 5 parts on this? Because it really kind of condenses the whole nature of what they were trying to do, who these people were. Yes, you get to see them in their day-to-day activities in the biosphere, but it's not as well realized. It feels like there's a kind of constraint on the actual material that they're presenting, and there's a little bit of a slant into the scientific community, which makes it look a little worse and badder than it needs to be. But with that said, it's still an engaging documentary because it's about people who are hopeful, people that have this belief that if what they're doing can create, a future of prominence and, of excitement and joyness and, non-worriness and stuff like that. So to see this kind of thing being built and kind of working in its own favor is a really fascinating thing to watch. It's kind of like watching the Mr. Rogers documentary, because they're taking situations and they're putting the idea of who these people are and what they were trying to do into a well-liked light, I guess you could say. And that's what I truly like about documentaries like this, because they're willing to deal with the good as well as the bad. We get the very beginning, early kind of culmination of how this thing started to kind of develop with a bunch of people who were very, daydreamers. They were very people that were go-getters. They went around the country. They built their own boat. They basically created their own world dealing with the ecosystems that will eventually be in this biosphere, because they had hope. They had dreams. They inspired. They, had the help of Ed Bass, who's a very prominent, wealthy businessman, to kind of let them have, tracts of land, building like a London art museum, and then tracts of land in Australia, to kind of get an idea of these biospheres and biodomes And it leads into Ed Bass and John Allen creating this idea of creating their own biosphere. And they're going to have different bio areas, you know, the desert and the ocean and the rainforest and so on and so forth. And so seeing all this hope and dreams start to become reality is a really fascinating thing to watch and a really hopeful thing to watch, you know, and especially in this day and age when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. It's really kind of exciting to see that people were trying to do something important and something different. The problem is it doesn't always succeed, and that's what happens in this movie because everything is hunky-dory at first. Everybody's working well together. Everything's going nice and creative. They go and get all the plants they need, all the vegetation and all the animals and stuff like that. And knowing very little about this whole story outside of what I just saw in the documentary, the point of when everything starts to fall apart is not really given much information. So when did she go out, the woman with the finger problem, go out and get the surgery and bring the duffel bags back? It's not really specified unless you do a lot of research on it, which is this documentary's also other problem, is it doesn't really do the time frame very well. It's kind of just like we go here, which is not always necessarily a bad thing, but when you're dealing with a 2-year span, give us a little bit of context. You know, at the very end we do get some stuff about, you know, 1991 and 1993 because this took place, you know, between those 2 years, and then Steve Bannon comes in and stuff like that. But then stuff starts falling apart because the thing about an ecosystem, about any kind of biodiversity, is things are going to go wrong. Things are going to happen. The greenhouse effect is going to be affected because there's no supposed air or CO2 being pumped into this place. So plants are going to die. Animals are going to get hurt and sick. They're going to die. And that's what starts to happen. But you start seeing like the CO2 effects about these 8 people who are trying real hard to do what they need to do, and they start fighting with one another. They're losing a lot of weight. The food's not coming, and it turns into like a strange nightmare of a situation that they were worried about. I mean, they say in the very beginning there were many scenarios that, you know, John Allen was worried about, and this is probably one of them that they were worried about happening. Everything just kind of imploded on itself, and it's really such a strange sadness to see because it's such an ambitious thing to do. But you know something's going to go wrong because, one, the Biosphere 2 is not really much of a thing anymore. It's a thing that's owned by the University of Arizona, and it's more of like a scientific experiment. Like they go in and they do experiments and people walk through and do all the kind of stuff. But the level of audaciousness and level of ambition that this project presented didn't really pan out like they wanted it to. They were very inspired by Silent Running with Bruce Dern, and it's just overall it's just really fascinating to see how much these people really cared and how much it really blew up in their face. The 8 people in this biosphere were working to try to make things for the better. Whatever John Allen and his mindset were dealing with, he was trying to make things for the better. He was just not capable of doing it. And the scientific community, obviously, from this documentary, knew that all these people were not scientists. They were not scientifically adaptable to take care of the situation, except for the ones in the biosphere. So it's a really interesting documentary. It's one that could be much, much longer, much more fleshed out. But as it's presented, it's still an engaging documentary. It's one that has a lot of interesting material that I never knew about. Now that I think about it, I do remember hearing a little bit of stuff about this biosphere. But like I said, I think about Biodome in a lot of aspects because it's the same scenario. They're going in for like a year or something like that. But that's such a terribly awesome movie that it kind of deflates the whole purpose of this documentary. But overall, yeah, the documentary is still pretty good. It's still enjoyable. It's on Hulu. I think it'll show up on like iTunes, they said, in a couple of weeks. I think Matt Wolf is doing pretty good work here. I think he is presenting both sides equally. He is giving the both good and bad of the situation. It is slanted still because it's a documentary, but it's not like, you know, Roger Moore style slant or something like that, or something, you know, that you see that's, you know, skewing one way. But it really does try to present a whole picture of this failed experiment. So I definitely recommend it. We'll see what happens to it during the Oscar season, but it could definitely be an Oscar contender for best documentary. But overall, yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think it's well represented. So there you go. But That's it. That's my take on the documentary of Spaceship Earth. Thank you so much for watching. Before we end this video, please hit that like button or dislike button, depending on what you think of the video. Also, hit that subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. And comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these two videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.